Hello and welcome to Cinebounce Live, where we are joined with the amazing Karen Sargent and obviously my partner in crime, Jamie. So what are we going to talk about today, Jamie?
Well, we're going to be talking, keeping it on that sort of theme about disabilities and about thinking about disabilities, but we're going to talk about how travel and tourism should be part of your treatment, not necessarily a luxury. And I love this subject because in the mental health world, in the mental health industry, traveling is considered part of your therapy, even though your employer may not necessarily think so. So, Carol, welcome. You work in the world of dementia. From my nan's perspective, my nan was a bit of a, she liked things the way it was. So traveling with her was always very difficult because it would stress her out. So we never necessarily used it as part of her treatment. But how can travel and tourism be part of a treatment rather than just a luxury, which is what society kind of expects of it?
Well, I think it's all about recognizing the health and well-being benefits that people can get from travel and tourism. And particularly if you think about dementia, it's being open and honest and understanding what are the barriers that you're worried about in traveling and going away on holiday, and speaking to people and identifying what those solutions are. So, first and foremost, it's thinking about, how does somebody like to travel? How far do they regularly travel? For a lot of older adults, traveling in the train was something that that was where the holiday started. So actually that is a more relaxing way of traveling than perhaps, being a passenger in a car that's driving really fast in a motorway, which isn't something that they're used to.
Yeah.
So it's really thinking about what is it that makes somebody, anxious and worried, and how can you avoid or limit those things so that you can continue to travel and that you can find, either holiday companies, holiday accommodation that works for, the things you need. And, my experience, I started off with only the experience in taking my mum and my mother-in-law who had dementia on holidays. And then I set up an organization, and, we found that anybody who's still living at home with dementia can still, go on holiday, but you just have to think very carefully about what that holiday is. And that can be hard sometimes because, you're thinking about those worst case scenarios, and nobody likes to think, what if something goes wrong? Or that thing that may have happened once, but it's in the back of your mind. What if that happens when I'm away from home? But if you can, have those discussions and speak to people and bounce around, well, what would I do if that happened? Then I think that gives you the confidence, to go and travel. And, okay, if it didn't work, well, then you've learned something along the way. And
would you recommend someone when we were talking about traveling, I was thinking, if someone's got dementia, wouldn't it be nice to kind of take them to places that they recognize, places they used to go on holiday, places that would trigger good, positive memories for them? But would you also recommend someone who is caring for someone with dementia, thinking about going on holiday? Would you sort of suggest try somewhere local first, somewhere a bit closer to home, rather than going, right, I'm going to take my mum on holiday for the first time with dementia, let's go to Australia? Maybe try, Maidenhead.
Yeah, I think it depends on the individual. If that person's traveled to Australia regularly because they've had family over there and, they enjoy traveling, and and they really enjoy when they get there, that's great. If somebody's very apprehensive, I would always say do something, small scale to begin with, but always go away for a reasonable amount of time. I wouldn't personally recommend just going away for a weekend, because that doesn't give somebody the chance to adapt to their new surroundings and the people they're with. But the other important thing is, for some people with dementia, going back to visit, old places is good. But equally, there are other people who they want new experiences. They want to meet new people. They want to try new things. And that is, imagine if everyone assumes that you only want to visit where you visited, when you were a teenager, and you think, oh my God, I've been there so many times and I only got to do X, Y, and Z. So again, it's really finding out what the individual with dementia enjoys, and the person that they're going with. And for some people, the important thing can be going away with family, a multi-generational holiday with grandchildren, parents, and grandparents. And then, you're thinking about all different things, a mixture of perhaps things you do normally and what your routine is. For a lot of our guests, they love Pointless, so we always made sure we were back so people could watch Pointless if that was important. But it sometimes, it's getting that mix, because people with dementia can get bored if you're doing all the thing. And,
boredom as well, right? They deteriorate. So, if your brain's not being stimulated, like, it's going to deteriorate very, very quick.
I was just going to come into that, because you specializing in traveling and obviously have looked after your own family members. What are the joys that you've seen in terms of having actual travel as a therapy?
Oh, for me, the biggest thing is when we took couples away, and you'd see one was the cared for, who was essentially just nagged, and the other person was the person who wasn't listened to, who was trying their best. And when you take people away, you saw them at the end of the holiday actually holding hands, having, really fun conversations, whereas at the start, kind of distanced, kind of thinking, really, why am I here with you? So, seeing that, renewing people's relationships, and people thinking, well, this is why I put up with you nagging, and, this is why I don't mind if you don't listen to me all the time. That's wonderful. But, the other things are, to me, one of the biggest one was Ron, who was in his early 80s. And music's was always a big part with our holidays and traveling and everything. And we played I'm Only Human, yeah? He'd never, ever heard it. And he started tapping his feet and then his arms, then tapping it on his head. And he was trying to get his wife up to dance, and she didn't like it at all. But, we got up and danced, and he just loved it. And it's just seeing enjoyment that we all get when people experience something different. And that's what a good holiday's about, isn't it? It's trying different things, or getting on with people. People made the strangest friendships that you wouldn't imagine, and that's always great. Great to see. And I think the other bit was particularly the carer, when they saw their loved one relaxing with other people, realizing that there was much more there than they realized when it's just the two of you. Like any couple, when you've been together for a long time, the stories that are going to come out, you probably know the jokes, so meeting new people and doing different things.
It's a new material, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's absolutely wonderful to hear those stories, and I think it's so. And this is it's so crazy to think that just because you have a condition that is dementia, you don't want to all of a sudden just be stuck at home in the same routine day in and day out. You still need a life experience.
Soul destroying, soul destroying.
Yeah.
Right, I do have to show that, because believe it or not, these 10 minutes are flying by. So Carol, I need to ask you, I want someone to take something away as a final note, right? So talking about travel and tourism as a therapy, as a treatment, rather than just a luxury that we would like to do, what would be your giveaway message?
So, I would relate it to mental health, like you highlighted to begin with. One of the things we measured from our guests that went on holiday was something called geriatric depression scale, and significant reduction in depression scale. And that's a sort of triage to go in and get treated with antidepressants. Yeah. And, people kind of don't think twice in prescribing antidepressants, but why would you pay for something that has some side effects and takes a long time, rather than just go and do something that you enjoy with people you enjoy and create new experiences? Why would you not consider a holiday, if it has the same health benefits, a treatment? So a bit of a long-winded answer on that one.
I thought about that myself. We do have to end the show, but that was a really insightful final note there, actually. And we've got another show coming up as well, where we actually talk about drugs and pills and those kind of medicines that we all see all too common. So massive thank you to Carol and to you guys. Don't go too far away, because we've got another amazing show coming up, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Goodbye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.